Right, 15 March 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Tinashe Jonasi, President of Ideal Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
As usual, my privilege and honor to be invited on this life impacting platform.
Okay, I think I just said 2020, and that was interesting. We're in 2021, so just in case someone watches this in the future, we're on 15 March 2021, and today we want to do this very, very quickly. And I hope you saw the article that was in the Daily News on Sunday regarding the dialogue request by Nelson Chamisa. Did you see it?
I didn't say it.
Okay, so let me take you through this article, which was there in the Daily News. It's still their top story today in the Daily News. So the main story here is by George Charamba, and he is saying Idi Mnangagwa did not see the letters that Chamisa said he sent to him, and he did not see the emissaries. So Chamisa said he sent emissaries to Mnangagwa to talk to him about dialogue. But Charamba is saying all that is not true, or at least if he did, those letters did not get to Mnangagwa. You know that Chamisa has been trying to meet Idi Mnangagwa. And what Charamba said is, in fact, Chamisa has not been coming directly. He has tried to send religious leaders, and then these religious leaders tried to go through ZCC leader Nehemiah Mtendi to reach Idi Mnangagwa, but he did not come directly. Also, Chamisa has deployed 210 teams to go all over the country to find out what people think about dialogue and the scope of the dialogue and how he should engage Idi Mnangagwa. So basically, that is what this whole story was about. And I think this is the third story every week talking about Chamisa and dialogue. So I think we've talked a lot about this topic. Given what I've said, what do you think about Chamisa's call for dialogue?
All right. The whole call of dialogue from Chamisa's camp is dishonest, mischievous, and politicking. If it was a snake, we can say it's a double-headed snake, if not a triple-headed snake. Why? Chamisa, personally, I think Chamisa, it's a strategy. The dialogue by Chamisa, it's a strategy. It's a strategy to say, I need to meet Mnangagwa, I need to meet Mnangagwa. And Mnangagwa rigged the election. Chamisa is grandstanding to occupy a position that it's only ED and Chamisa in Zimbabwe. Chamisa is trying to delete every opposition in Zimbabwe, so that they are like insignificant. The limelight, the prominence, the discussion must be all around ED and him. To me, it's a game plan. It's a game plan to make Zimbabweans believe the solution of any challenge in our country lies and is going to be solved by the meeting between ED and Chamisa. It's a strategy. He's not interested in a dialogue at all because ED has tried to reach out to him, and he refused. I remember at some point Chamisa was saying, even if I can talk to ED, if he can whisper into my ear, I would even check if my ear is not stolen. If I can greet him with my hands, I would count my fingers if they are not missing. And secondly, ED has got a platform that he told Chamisa to call the POLAD to go. And Chamisa is saying everyone in that dialogue in POLAD is in agreement with the ED. It's only me who is not in agreement with the ED. Therefore, me and ED must sit down. When people are no one in Zimbabwe is totally in agreement. No opposition leader is totally in agreement with the ED. Otherwise, those who are those who are agreeing 100% with the ED, they join ZANU-PF. Any opposition leader who is still running his political party, it means he's not agreeing with the ED 100%. But because of national agenda, national interest, people are compromising their differences, because the word Zimbabwe is bigger than political parties, is bigger than our differences. So he is just saying everyone in Poland is in agreement with. No, we have seen Professor Love Momaduku going out there in public, differing with ED, differing with government policies and stuff. But it's not correct that when Prof Maduku is sitting down with ED in Poland, they are in agreement. No, they are bound by national interests. The betterment, the improvement of lives is making a good leadership. Wisdom is humility. So Chamisa, to me, is a good performer. He's a good actor. What he wants is to say, it's me. The politics, he is trying to monopolize opposition politics in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so let's go to, we've been talking about this topic for so long. Me and yourself, we've had no less than 10 discussions with Chamisa requesting to meet Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is not saying, is saying he did not see the letters from Chamisa and he did not see the emissaries. What is stopping Mnangagwa from approaching Chamisa?
All right. Yeah, if we discuss it more than 10 times, let me answer this question more than the 11th time, and I pray that my answer will be understood this time. When we say first thing on record, Mnangagwa is running a political party called ZANU-PF that has got a 2/3 majority in parliament. So technically, let's assume Mnangagwa lost the presidential election to Chamisa. Still, ED would be running Zimbabwe, because the political power in Zimbabwe is in parliament. You know, when your party has got 2/3 majority, it can even impeach. If Chamisa had won presidential election, ED can even have a meeting with a member of parliament. They would impeach Chamisa, they would fire Chamisa from power. So technically, ED is a president because he won presidential election. Secondly, ED is a president because of the 2/3 majority in parliament. Now, so there are two scenarios that makes ED have political power. He can lose one, or he still remains a president. Now, Chamisa lost the presidential election, lost the 2/3 majority in parliament, and Chamisa's presidential candidature of 2018 was frozen. According to the court ruling in Zimbabwe, Chamisa never contested in 2018. Scenario number one. Scenario number two, Chamisa doesn't have one single member of parliament who is going to be called a member of parliament. Scenario number three, Chamisa doesn't own a political party. Sorry, is not a leader of any political party. Scenario number three, which tells us that Chamisa has got 0 votes, presidential, parliamentary, anything. Chamisa has got 0 votes, and is not an opposition leader. If we are to respect our judiciary or our courts or the law in Zimbabwe or the constitution. Chamisa is not an opposition leader in Zimbabwe. Now, until he forms a political party, he will be officially an opposition leader. As we speak, Chamisa is an ordinary citizen of the country. An ordinary citizen. I am an opposition leader. Chamisa is ordinary. So, if ED respects the rule of law, if ED respects the constitution of Zimbabwe, he must not recognize Nelson Chamisa politically. If ED wants to meet with Chamisa, they must meet as the brothers, and the citizens. Maybe they can go to Merek or somewhere and have a braai or a cup of coffee. That is not a problem. But it mustn't be something professional or a political platform. Chamisa is not a politician as we speak. He is not a politician. So ED is not compelled to meet Chamisa because Chamisa is ED can even go to Gokwe or go to Mbare and meet Fantan of Chill Sport Records and have a dialogue. So ED should not look for Chamisa because there's no compelling reasons. Chamisa again, even if you want to meet ED, I don't know as what, because he's not representing. He's not an opposition leader. He's not a leader of any opposition party, if we are following our law. And then the other point again is that Zimbabwe is not in our constitution. There's no clause of dialogue that when there is any when Chamisa is not in dispute with anything, because the dispute was settled by the court of law. So Chamisa is not in dispute with the ED or with the ZANU-PF or anything, because the professional platform which settles disputes is the court of law. Chamisa took his dispute to the Supreme Court, and it was settled. So I don't know why Chamisa and ED must sit down and discuss, unless they are trying to circumvent the court of the judiciary. Unless President Mnangagwa is saying the executive in Zimbabwe is more powerful than the judiciary and the parliament. Unless President ED is saying there's no separation of powers in Zimbabwe, the executive, the parliament, the judiciary. And if then all these three arms of the government are reduced to only ED, then there's need of ED to sit down with the Chamisa and talk.
Okay, so why do we have POLAD if dialogue is not important?
Oh, thank you so much. POLAD is not a legal entity for policy formulation and implementation. POLAD is more of saying ED is trying to be, he said, I'm a listening president. Now, because our election system, our electoral system is a winner takes all. ED is saying, I won the election, my party won the election, and to govern Zimbabwe legally. But nonetheless, you are opposition leaders, you are Zimbabweans, you have got ideas. Can we regularly meet and I listen to your proposals and everything? Because I am allowed to implement any manifesto, any policy, because I'm the president of the country. ED is being kind, and I don't know how to describe that, but he is allowed by the constitution of Zimbabwe to run Zimbabwe with his ZANU-PF party without listening to any opposition leader. of course, it's not in the constitution, the POLAD, but as the president, he needs ideas from Zimbabweans. So he is recognizing opposition leaders and say, even if you won 5 votes, even if you got 10 votes, it means you are representing a certain constituency of Zimbabwean society. So you are not just an individual. If you got 5,000 votes, it means you are representing the aspirations of and hopes of 5,000 Zimbabweans. ED is not comparing the amount of votes leaders got in the election. He is saying, I will listen to you, because behind you, there's a chain of Zimbabweans who believe you.
Okay. So I think we've covered the topic. We've talked about this for a long, long time. And I don't think we should keep going. We should wrap this up very, very quickly. Let us look into the future a little bit. Yeah. Douglas Ngonzora and his side of the MDC, they formed a committee to deal with dialogue. I think it was almost in the same newspaper. Chamisa has formed his own group of people going all over the country to talk about dialogue. The churches have formed their own group to talk about dialogue. There is POLAD. How can you bring all these people together?
All right. I think it's an unnecessary competition. Maybe Mr. Gambagwe, tomorrow we should also form a committee for dialogue. To me, these committees of dialogue, there are committees that in case maybe there might be a GNU. Guys, let's be ready let's open our mouth so that if there's GNU or National Transition Authority, so that we eat. Our politics has been always characterized by eating, not representing poor people. I don't see the need of committees for dialogue, because who needs a dialogue for what? If you have got an idea, you can tell your councillor, your member of parliament, a minister. We have got government representatives from the president down to the local government, to the village headman, to the chief. There's always a leader accessible. I don't know. I don't know if I can meet up with the president Mnangagwa. That meeting must be all about maybe having coffee or something. It's not like when I meet him seriously, I've got better ideas than him, because those ideas that ED sold to his voters, the voters believed in them and voted him into power. If anyone else has got better ideas than ED, Zimbabweans are not they are not interested in those ideas. That's why they never voted for that person to win. I mean, it's more like if you wanted you were courting a woman, and maybe you promised there to stay in Dubai. Someone promised there that if I marry you, we'll stay in our village and take care of our grandfathers and ancestors' graves. And she married that man. It means she's not interested in staying in Dubai. So courtship of a woman is the same as courtship of voters. If ED doesn't, we assume that it doesn't have better ideas, but voters of Zimbabwe majority vote those ideas. Why can't we appreciate and tolerate that? Whoever wants to meet ED and advise ED how to run Zimbabwe, that person is sick in his head.
Okay. So all these groups that are talking about dialogue, you are saying they must just leave it. They mustn't try to initiate the dialogue.
No, they must go to POLAD. If they don't want POLAD, then they must strategize to win 2023. so that they don't.
Is POLAD doing anything?
All right. POLAD must not change the government. POLAD must not impose any policy. POLAD is like the Presidential Advisory Committee that was formed. A president can't listen to ED, can't have a number or a WhatsApp number that every Zimbabwean would send a message every day. Otherwise, for him to read those messages, he needs 20 years. So people must not expect a president to listen to every Zimbabwean. A president must talk to those people who represent many people. So POLAD is created for people that represent the majority of Zimbabweans. So that when ED is listening to Prof Maduku, he is not listening to one man. He is listening to over 5,000 people. If ED is going to listen to Leader Monzora, probably Leader Monzora is representing or 1 million or more people or 500,000. I don't know how many membership or supporters of him. It's now easy for ED, other than ED to check his inbox. That is not sustainable. So POLAD is not there to run the country. The country is run by a government of ZANU-PF. If ZANU-PF sits down, the Politburo, and say tomorrow we are going to build a dam in Zvishavane, that will happen immediately because they've got political power. POLAD is not a parallel government. So many people are saying POLAD is not achieving anything. Why? Because they want POLAD to be more powerful than ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is the government of Zimbabwe, not POLAD. POLAD doesn't have ministers, doesn't have anything. If POLAD has got a policy, they'll need to sell it to the president. The president would buy it or not. So POLAD remains a platform for opposition to engage with the president of the country. That's the role of POLAD. POLAD will never fire a police officer. POLAD will never fire a teacher, a government teacher. They can't. So people must understand that POLAD is not a parallel government. POLAD is a presidential advisory committee of politicians.
Okay. I think at that point, we need to end this discussion. And I think we need to refer everyone to the Daily News on Sunday, from this past Sunday. Go and have a look at the discussion that is taking place. Chamisa going very hard, wanting dialogue, doesn't want POLAD at all, because he says the problem in Zimbabwe is between himself, ZANU-PF, Mnangagwa, and the people of Zimbabwe, and not with the people that agree with him.
Thank you. I answered that question before. I said no opposition leader in Zimbabwe is agreeing with ED. No opposition leader. A person who agrees with the ED 100% joins ZANU-PF. So that's a lie. Chamisa is not in dispute with the ED. That dispute was settled by the court of law. It was settled. Thirdly, I laugh every time Chamisa is brainwashed his supporters. They always say Chamisa he says people of Zimbabwe. Chamisa refers to his supporters as people of Zimbabwe. Chamisa says he's a people's president. Chamisa is a president to his members and supporters, full stop. The way the people is abused, it's very abused. It is not in dispute with the people of Zimbabwe. The question is which people of Zimbabwe? Because if ED is in the Politburo is with the people of Zimbabwe, ED is a person of Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF members are people of Zimbabwe. I don't know why Chamisa is associated with the people of Zimbabwe. ED not, Tinashe Jonas not, Leader Monzora is not associated with people of Zimbabwe. That is Zinasu politics. I hope after maybe in 10 years' time or so, Chamisa would graduate and resign from Zinasu politics. Chamisa is the same Chamisa who was doing politics at Harare Polytechnic. Chamisa is the same with the. So maybe 10 years or so, I'm still waiting for Chamisa at 50. Maybe he might do mainstream politics. And with this.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Jonasi. I'm very sorry. I think we're having a problem with our network again. And what I'm going to do is I need to switch to another camera. I hope you can still hear me.
Very well.
Okay, so let us wrap this up because obviously I cannot hear you very well. I think Chamisa is hacking us.
Chamisa won't hack. He doesn't have the capacity to hack.
Okay, no, that's cool, man.
So because the point is that because he could have hacked the Zeki computers.
Okay, no, cool. So thank you very much for joining me today. And I think let's people go and have a look at the Daily News on Sunday. And we'll be back again next week to talk about similar topics. But I think this topic, we've really talked about it a lot. And it's up to Chamisa to see how he takes this forward.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jonasi, and thank you to everyone who is at home.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.